Hi, this is Kimberly Reuter, business advisor and supply chain expert, and welcome back to my podcast, The Morning Mood. We are back for another The Architects episode, and we're here with Jennifer Black to talk about brokerage. In our previous episode, in episode 2 of Building Brokerage at Amazon, we talked about kind of what we had to do, what we were up against, the challenges that we're facing. We had this import wave that was getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single day. Scale was a huge issue. And I think the other thing we really didn't get into a whole lot the last time was the diversity of product, because we were importing everything from children's toys to automotive parts to lingerie to anything was coming in. We had to import it. And that's a unique situation to be in, because unless you're a broker, most of you are focused on some sort of product category that you stick in. So it was a really interesting time. And Jennifer walked us through some of the things that we had to overcome, especially like working with merchants and getting them to be part of the team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Part of it.
We uncovered the first step. The biggest
step. Category.
We turned over the first rock. Yeah.
Yes, we did, which was getting category leaders to talk to us, which was basically what the problem was, is that nobody talked to us until a box showed up, and then everybody wanted to talk to us right away. So Jennifer, let's talk about, we talked about the challenges that we had, which was one, getting our hands around this beast that grew up on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Getting collaboration across the organization to be a part of this new process that nobody had any experience with. And then also making sure that we're serving the customer, right? We had an internal and an external customer. And then also this was worldwide. So we weren't just figuring out what to do here in the United States. We were trying to figure out what we're going to do for everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a big one. All right. So Jennifer, anything from our last episode you want to highlight before we jump into how we made it happen?
Yeah, I think the thing that was important to call out to set the context for this conversation is the sort of what's in it for me, right? So we had to do a little bit of sales and marketing with our partners, our category leaders, to say, like, this is something that's going to actually make your life easier rather than something that's onerous. Yeah, another step in the process.
Yes.
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 So you had to kind of sell it the right way, first of all. But then you had to make good on that. You couldn't just promise it and not do it. So
it's true. It's true. And that was a big thing. I remember lecturing you guys about this all the time, is that the higher you go, the harder you fall. If we're going to hold everybody else to a standard, we had to hold ourselves to a slightly higher standard than we held everyone else. And that was a big part, I think, of how we got credibility. And we won a lot of respect with that, because we did uphold our end of the bargain. Because we said, if you do this, if you participate in this process and you do all these things that we tell you got to do, if you do this, your products will sail right into the United States, go right into that warehouse. We'll have no additional cost. We will 100% have compliance, and everything will be beautiful. And
like, we become invisible to you.
Yeah, I think we told them that. Like, you won't even know we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had to deliver on all that shit.
Yeah. A little bit.
Because it was a little harder than it sounded when we were running our mouth in the meeting.
It was.
Like, we had told everybody, we're like, we're going to do it and you're going to love it. And this is how we're going to do it. And they were like, yeah, we're in. And they were like, shit, now we got to go do it.
Yeah, now we got to, we got to build the thing.
We got to make the thing happen now. But we did. So those were our big challenges. So thanks for calling that out. But yeah, the big part of that was we had to deliver what we promised. Mm-hmm. And we were held accountable to that too. Like, in the minute we didn't, like, we heard about it. Like, yeah, there was immediate feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember we used to be on these daily calls during peak. Everybody gets on this call like
6 a.m.
6 a.m. calls, our VPs on there, and everybody's calling out their things. And here I am sitting there. We have a shipment stuck in customs. That didn't happen very often.
It didn't happen very often. But yeah, we would get caught, especially on the holidays. We had those 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. We like to bookend our days there at Amazon. And you had to be in all the meetings. I actually did negotiate that eventually, that we didn't all have to be in the meeting. But yeah, we'd have to call it. They had something in customs, what was going on. I mean, it got a lot of visibility. It had a lot of eyes.
Yeah, I did.
All right. So big challenges were coming our way. We had to move fast. Amazon was not slowing down. So let's talk about what we ended up implementing.
Yeah. So this is like where I was thinking about this ahead of our call, and I was like, where does the rubber meet the road?
Yep.
And it meets the road at the intersection of being creative and getting the fundamentals really right.
Yes.
Because, we had to solve for the scalability and diversity issue, but we did that by implementing something that was so foundationally strong.
Basic.
Like a process. Yes.
It was basic. That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, supply chain is not sexy. If you're trying to sell me sexy in a supply chain solution, I already know you're full of shit.
Yes.
Because supply chain is not sexy. The shit that we put in place that we're going to tell everybody about was the most unsexy thing I've ever built in my life.
Really? But it worked so well.
Yeah. But it works. It's still working. 20 years later, it's still working. All right. So talk us through it. What do we do?
Yeah. So we did basically a process. So we had, we put our brokerage out for bids. We had a new broker that was coming into the fold. They had some good ideas about what to do, but they kind of had a mentality of throw people at the problem.
Yes, they did.
And I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. At Amazon, that was not a good solution.
No.
No.
Like, you do not have the staff to handle that. I promise. Nobody does.
And we had fast SLAs too. I think we had requirements on turnarounds. Like everything had to be pre-cleared 5 days. Classification was like 24 or 48 hour turnaround. Like we had pretty tight turnarounds for them too. And we're not talking like a classification a week. We're talking 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up just getting the fundamentals really right. Like I said, so what information did we need to unlock those capabilities, to unlock a 24-hour classification turnaround, to unlock a 5-day pre-clearance, to make sure that 99.9% of our stuff sailed through customs without a hitch.
Yeah.
And what we ended up doing is using purchase orders and the data to create a funnel of information that you could then prioritize and sort through and execute on very specifically. Like there was a process for it.
Yeah. And it worked.
It was so not sexy though, because like we had to sit down and be like, okay, when you get this information in this format, what is your next step that you're going to do? How are we going to know you're done with that step? How are we going to know that, it's submitted to customs, it's cleared customs, there's an exception, it's an exam or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we had to just break it down to its basic data elements.
Yep.
And put that data into a stream that told us what we needed to know in aggregate.
Yes. Now, what Jennifer just explained to everyone sounds pretty table stakes today. 20 years ago, this didn't really exist.
No.
And it's why we ended up working with the broker we worked with for many, many years, because they were small, they built their own tech, and they were able to build what we needed. But we had to design this. Like this didn't exist. We had to design a process.
I think the thing that really comes out of this is that exceptions require attention, norms do not.
Yes.
And what we ended up doing is putting everything into a norm.
Yep. And we had too much signal. We had too much noise and we couldn't hear the signal. Yeah.
Yes.
So we had all of this stuff. So we worked with the broker to first lay out an external broker process that worked for us, right? We need to have touch points. We need this communicated. We need to know how this is going to happen because it all needed to be automated as it could be, because we didn't want an entry not to go through because they couldn't get somebody on the phone or they needed more information or whatever it was. It's like, no, all of this should be provided for you. You're accessing it.
Yeah. And that, just to peel that onion a little bit, I often heard, because we had like a single point of contact for this broker, right? Like she was in charge of all of it. Her name was Tracy. She was great. Tracy.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She, like, the response of Tracy's out of the office
was not acceptable.
Would never okay.
No. That was, I can't get somebody on the phone was not an acceptable answer from this broker. And it wasn't an acceptable answer from anyone, but we needed to have 24/7 visibility. So we started building a process. We went to the category leaders. Mm-hmm. The other thing we did is we educated the category leaders on what had to be on a PO.
Yes.
And we made requirements.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yes. You bring up a good point. I think I missed that detail, but yeah, we started at the PO, and we started with the category leaders making sure that they had that information on the PO, because that then flowed through the whole thing.
These are the things that must be on your PO. And I remember them pushing back, like, we haven't had to do this before. And other ones had come from other companies, and they're like, we've never had to do this before. We're like, nope, this is what we're doing here. You have to have a ship window. Why? We don't need it. No, we have to have, like, this is how we manage everything. Like, we actually, we went and dictated, this is what must be on your PO going forward, and it's required. And then we also built into the technology that if it wasn't in, that it didn't get accepted.
That's right. Oh, yes. We had a whole, like, rejection sideline process.
Yep.
But we did that at the earliest possible point. See, this is a thing that we were also doing.
Yeah, but before it was even manufactured, before it was even made, before it even saw a box, we were editing or auditing what was going on. Yeah. And and every time I consult with a company, every time I do a keynote, and every time I talk about imports, I always you have to start at the PO. Mm-hmm. That was the big, for me, in my mind, I feel like that was the big flip for us. Mm-hmm. Was when we got them to do that.
I think that gives you also the time. Because that was another thing that we were pushing against, is that we would get information right in, it's like just in time when it needed to be cleared. And we wanted more, because this process, although it is a process, like import clearances and customs brokerage, it is pretty figure outable, right? There are steps to it. But those steps are hard to figure out, like, in a day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sometimes you need a little bit more time to do some research, especially if there's other government agencies involved, blah, blah, blah.
CBSC, changing regulation, all kinds of things.
All of those things. And so we were also stretching the time from when we had to do the analysis to when it needed to be entered.
Yeah.
Which gave us so much breathing room.
Yes. That is what gave us the room and the space we needed to tackle the wave. Because otherwise we could not have managed the thousands and thousands of new products that were coming in on a monthly basis that needed attention. Mm-hmm. If we were looking at them 7 days from the day they were coming in, like, we never would have been able to do it. So the PO, in my mind, the PO and managing the import department, actually managing the PO, was the big shift. And is what made Amazon able to do what it did.
Well, we took that thing from reactive to proactive.
We did 100%. We went from, you weren't there, but we went from 16 containers locked up with no OBLs 2 weeks before Christmas.
What's an OBL?
Department. That's how we got funding to 100% pre-clearance. And we were running tight then, too. We were doing 27 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To FC door, it was 27 days. We were flying with the freight.
Just for the audience, like, the fastest you can get across the ocean is about 12 days.
Yeah. I mean, even back then, I'm not sure we could do 12. I think 15 was the fastest we were getting back then.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember we called it the fast boat.
The fast boat.
We're on the fast boat.
But just to keep that in mind, like, that's the amount of time it's spent on the water, from everything from manufacturer's door to the actual FC. I mean, that's tight, very tight. And we were moving cross-country, mid-country, all over the place. It wasn't just straight to LA. The other thing I want to talk about that we did too, and you were a big part of this, was providing visibility. Because that was the other piece that got us over that hump.
The visibility aspect, this has become very important to Amazon I think it was always pretty important to them, but like this was the infancy of it, was again, going back to like, how are we managing by exception? We're managing by exception by proving all of the rest of it is going according to plan. And that means metrics. That means going into your WBR and pulling up your weekly stats and saying, we cleared, 4,000 shipments.
Yeah.
And we had 2 exceptions.
Yeah. And what were the
in?
exceptions? Yeah. And being able to, what were the exceptions? How did we address it? And if it was a fuck up, how do we make sure we're not going to do it again?
Absolutely.
Then that was absolutely required from everything that we did. The other piece of visibility that we required is we did open kimono with everybody. And we gave access to our tracking system.
We did. I just gotta like quick shout out to Sean, because he sourced the like visibility tool that we had and we plugged into it.
I'm dragging his ass on here. He's coming. He's traveling the world now, being retired and free. I'm having a hard time pinning him down, Sean.
He's in Tokyo right now.
I know. He's having fun. He said he's coming. He's just on his terms. Don't make me get my red pen. That's all I have to say, Sean. Wherever he is in the world right now, his ears just flamed. He's like, red pen?
Oh no.
But yeah, so we gave visibility, and we did true open kimono with everybody. This is what's going on. You can see the same information we can see. You can see the same customs information we can see. We didn't hide anything from anybody. Even when we screwed it up, we let everybody know that we did it, and we showed them where it was. Yeah. And that, I think, was the big piece for getting a lot of people on board with the process and believing in the process, was that we could show them that it was working.
Well, I mean, the brokerage process, like the customs clearance process, became invisible.
It really did.
It just was. Like, it was just a part of the supply chain that flowed smoothly, and there we go.
And nobody really even knew it happened until we hit a hiccup. And even then, when we would hit an exam or anything, which were fairly few and far between, because we were pretty strong.
Because of CT-PAT?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I'm just going to stay away from the CT-PAT thing. Very few and far between, we would get customs exams, which was why at the time we weren't really motivated to go to CT-PAT, because we were like, we get like 2 a year, so why would we do this?
They're random. Everybody gets them.
Yeah, and they were random. Everybody got them. But even when they did, we had complete control, and they moved as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. Like, we never lost it. We never were out of control of the situation. We never didn't know where it was. Mm-hmm. We always knew it's going to be examined in tomorrow or the next day or whatever it was. We always had the information.
Yeah, exactly. And then if we were anticipating also the questions that we thought customs would ask us.
True.
And with that visibility system that we had, we could self-anticipate and provide that information like on the spot. What do you need?
Yeah, that's true. I remember that.
I think you're probably going to need this, this, and this. Here it is.
And we would just be like, hey, we're just going to give it to you now, so you don't have to come back and ask for it later. Yeah, that's true. We did a lot of predicting too. Excellent. Mm-hmm. So anything you want to leave us with on how we finally implemented something and how that went? Because our next episode, we're going to talk about the legacy and what happened after.
I think, again, just to like go back to Kim's point about, the unsexy parts, lean in. Those are the parts that matter.
It really is. It's the PO.
It's the PO.
The most unsexy thing you could ever want to get intimate with is the key. Like that was the PO. And the other unsexy stuff we did was just providing visibility. We did no firefighting. We never had a ticker tape parade before we pulled it out of our asses. We never had to do any of that stuff. We were all about fire prevention.
Fire prevention.
Yes. And the other thing it allowed us to do, much to our own demise, was it allowed us to run, couple thousand entries a month, more than that, with 2 people.
Now the precedent is set.
Yeah. I mean, the scale was... we did. We over delivered is what we did. I was too young to realize you have to hold back a little. Want to make it
because they're going to ask for more, and you're like, got it.
You got to for more. So I was like, no, I could do 5,000 entries a month with 2 people, like blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, if you can do that with 2 people with 5,000, you can do 20,000 with 3. Well, that's not how it works. Yeah. So that was to our demise. But we used technology to help us manage the process. That was the key.
That was.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. And we will be back to talk about the legacy and what happened after Jennifer and I both built this great big brokerage program. All right. Thank you. See you soon.